So, if anything goes wrong for the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder could have 4 first round picks in this upcoming draft. I want you guys to think about that. The defending champions and the championship favorites this year could walk into the offseason with 4 first round picks in one of the most talented draft classes we have ever seen. That's what I want to talk about today because there's so much talent in this draft, and OKC could go so many different ways to improve their roster, and they have 4 chances to get it right. If everything goes wrong, they can have 2 lottery picks. I know Utah right now is sitting at 6. Let that fall to 9, and OKC gets the pick. Let the Clippers, who have the 9th best odds right now, jump up to 1, and they get that pick. They get that pick, ladies and gentlemen. Let's simulate just to see what happens. So Utah, they get to keep their pick. OKC would have the 9th pick, the 19th pick, and the 21st pick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the 5 best prospects that we could see potentially go to OKC this upcoming season. And it's really an interesting talking point, in my opinion, because there's so much that OKC could do with these 4 first round picks. Do I think they're going to keep all of them? No. I don't think they're going to keep all of them, but they possibly could keep all of them. They possibly could keep all of them and say, hey, you know what? We're probably going to want to start replacing some of these guys coming up. Some of these guys are going to start asking for money. Lou Dort's going to start asking for money. Casey Wallace is going to start asking for money. Alex Caruso. This is in years past. Like, this is in years in the future, because I do believe some of these guys just got extended, but you want to be ahead of the curve. You want to be ahead of the curve with guys like Lou Dort, with guys like Alex Caruso, because once that defensive value starts to diminish, if they can't produce on the offensive end, like knock down shots consistently, and the defensive value is starting to diminish, you may want to go look at other options. You might just want to. And there's a multitude of different ways that the Oklahoma City could go in this draft class. You can go 3-point shooting. The Oklahoma City Thunder would love to have some consistent 3-point shooters on this roster. You can go identity and go get a bunch of athletes that can play the defensive side of the floor really well with a lot of upside, that can learn behind some of these defenders that you have in this roster, whether that's Lou Dort, whether that's Casey Wallace, whether that's Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, whoever you want. Or you can address your rebounding need. While Isaiah Hartenstein isn't on the floor, the Oklahoma City Thunder are not the best rebounding team, going against a bunch of teams in the Western Conference who are really good rebounders. Nikola Jokic is one of the greatest rebounders in the NBA. The Houston Rockets are one of the greatest rebounding teams of all time. There's going to be a multitude of teams that can rebound the basketball, and that may be an issue Oklahoma City may need to address. And there's a lot of guys, wherever they're picking, that can add to that. A lot of guys. If they want offensive rebounding, they can go get a guy. If they want 3-point shooting, they can go get a guy. If they want defensive upside, they can go get a guy. So we're going to rank 1 through 5 the best prospects that OKC could draft. I want to talk about an honorable mention, and that's Hans Steinbeck out of Washington. He stands at about 6'11" and is averaging about 11 and a half, 12 rebounds a game on 18 points per night. And this addresses a need for offensive rebounding, but I also do think you lose a lot of defense at that big man position. Now, I do understand that you can play him next to a Chet Holmgren. You can play him next to an Isaiah Hartenstein. He has shown some 3-point shooting ability. So Hans is currently averaging 11 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 18 points per game, 4 offensive rebounds per game, while also shooting 33% from 3. He's only taking 1.5 a game, so please don't worry about that. Solid free throw shooter as well. In his past few games, he's had 21-9, 17-4, 20-10, 20-11, 21-14. He does provide some solid ball handle. He can run the floor. He can be a grab and go guy. He's really good at putbacks and offensive rebounds as well. I just don't think he's as good on the defensive end. Now, you can hide him because you have one of the greatest defenses of all time, but I just don't think offensive rebounding is that big of a need to take him where you're possibly going to have to take him, because this is probably going to be a lottery guy. I think this is going to be a lottery guy. Do I think OKC need offensive rebounding that much to where they could probably push off some of the possible prospects that they could be getting in the lottery? I don't think it's that serious. I don't think the offensive rebounding concern is that bad that you have to not waste a lottery pick, but like waste a lottery pick on drafting Hans Steinbeck, just because I think there's a bigger need that you need in shooting, and there's a multitude of different prospects that can shoot. I mean, there's really good shooting prospects from the lottery all the way to the end of the first round. There's a multitude, whether it's Braylon Mullins, Cam Carr, Isaiah Evans, Kareem Lopez is a solid shooter. If you get the first pick in the draft, you can go get Darren Peterson, who's shooting 40+% on multiple 3-point attempts a game. But I just don't think in the lottery that's who they should be going for. So maybe not Heinz Steinbeck as the move. The next honorable mention I have, I'm going to be mixing two players together because I think they're in the same mold of why OKC would be drafting them, and that's Isaiah Evans and Cameron Carr. If you look at both of these guys are both really good off-ball players. They're really good athletes. They have solid speed. Isaiah Evans is just a really good off-ball player. He reminds me of like maybe a faster, more athletic Duncan Robinson, and that's no disrespect because when you look at, I'm sure when people like look at their player comparisons, they're like Duncan Robinson, but I really think Isaiah Evans can be valuable for what OKC would be trying to do. He brings a speed level. He brings a 3-point shooting level. There's been multiple games where he's just gotten really hot and knocked down a lot of threes. But then my concern for him would be if that shot's not falling, do you really have the size and the strength to guard on the perimeter? Can you do the other things? Can you put the ball on the floor? Can you make plays? And I think that's just what's going to take time. And the best part about this is OKC could have the fifth pick in the draft, but they can go draft Tonde Yesufu at fifth, even though I don't think he's nearly a top 5 prospect, but they can draft off team need because it doesn't really matter who they pick because they're going to develop them anyway. So if they see somebody who they can develop better than somebody else they can develop, even though the other player might be better, it's still smarter for them to pick the guy that they know they can get to where they need him to be. By the way, none of the big three will be in this video. I will not be bringing up anybody from the big three, whether that's Darren Peter. Well, I already kind of brought up Darren Peterson, but I'm not going to be ranking those guys. I'm not going to be ranking those guys because obviously if they get a top 3 pick, you should go get one of those guys. But I'm looking at a more realistic lens. Like if OKC gets the 6th pick, and there's players that are available. Anyway, if we take a look at what Isaiah Evans does, he's averaging about 14 points per game. He's shooting 36% from 3 on 7 attempts, which he's still, in my opinion, a really good shooter, even though he's only shooting 36% on 7 attempts. I still think that's really good. He has a really solid and dynamic off-ball game, which is extremely, extremely impressive for me. It's just, what else is he doing? That's my biggest issue. Like from 2, he's only shooting like what? He's shooting 51% from 2 on only 3 shots a game. So it's like that's where I feel as though that could be a really good shooter for them. And you can look at Cameron Carr, who I would give the edge to Cameron Carr, even though Isaiah Evans is one of my guys. I've been watching him since high school. I would give the edge to Cameron Carr because he does show some type of in-between game that he can get to. He's shooting 65% on 2-pointers this season on 7 attempts a game while shooting 40% on 5 threes a night. He shows a little bit of more. He shows a little bit more of dynamic abilities to be able to put the ball on the floor, especially if he's like driving closeouts or relocating and having to make a decision for himself. He shows some solid touch, a solid mid-range game, and he's also one of the best shooters in this draft. So those two would be my honorable mentions. I mocked them in together because they'd be getting drafted for the same reason. And you can pretty much get them between like 16 and 22, 16 and 25. Like you don't have to spend a lottery pick on those type of players. Like if we take a look, shout out to No Ceilings. They had just dropped their big board. If we take a look at what their where they're ranked for No Ceilings. Now, obviously, this isn't an end-all, be-all because I have my own big board that will be coming out pretty soon. If we take a look, where's Cameron Carr? See, we're already out of the top 15. We are out of the top 20, and Cameron Carr sits at 22. And then we take a look, and Isaiah Evans is at 25. Like these guys, you can get these guys later in the draft. Like I wouldn't wait till pick 29 to try and get one of these guys. I'd probably, if we take a look at Tankathon here, if we take a look, they're mocked to have right now a pick right outside the lottery in Philadelphia's pick, which would be 19. I wouldn't hate taking Cameron Carr here. I would not hate taking Cameron Carr here. I think Cameron Carr is probably the better player for OKC because he does bring a sprinkle of ball handling, which I think is better than Isaiah Evans is at the moment. But I still think either one of those guys can be really good for your roster. So those are my honorable mentions. I just spent 10 minutes talking about them. Okay, my number 5 prospect I would like to see OKC draft would be Yaxel Lindenberg out of Michigan. Now, Yaxel is a older prospect. Hold on, if I can get you guys the stats, please. Like, sheesh. Yaxel is an older prospect. This season he's averaging like 15 points per game, I would believe, 15 points per game. Shooting about 35% from three, which was much better to start the season. He does have a nice 3-point shot from what I've seen. I think he can probably develop into a really solid one. He runs in transition really well. He's shooting 72% inside the arc, so that's really good as well. I think that could be somebody that they try and draft because I think he could be a really good wing guy that can play solid defense and knock down shots. I wouldn't draft him so high, one, because he's already an older prospect, and his 3-point shooting is kind of streaky, but I am really intrigued by his tools and what he can provide offensively and defensively for this Thunder team. So that would probably be the first guy that I would knock off my list as a top 5 prospect for OKC. At number 4, I'm going to be taking Kareem Lopez. Now, Kareem Lopez stands at about 6'10", 6'11". He's a really good athlete. He can put the ball on the floor, and he can knock down shots. If we take a look at his stats real fast, I do want to take a look at his stats real quick. He should be shooting around 40% from three. Now, I know I kind of set like 40% at the bar, but I do like some of the process with his shots. He's a really good off-ball player, and that's just not off-ball on the perimeter either. Like, this could be also things that are cutting to the basket. These could be things that are he's doing to get to the rim or to get favorable matchups on the perimeter where he can exploit those guys. Okay, I got him eventually. So in New Zealand, he's averaging 11 points per game, 6 rebounds. He's shooting 32% from three. Like, why is guys' 3-point shots just falling? He was shooting 40% earlier this season. I do think his jump shot is better than what the numbers would say he is. Just like Mikael Brown Jr. at the point guard position. I think he has really good positional size. I think he's more of like a Jabari Smith and like a Michael Porter Jr. like built in. Like, he does have some of that off-ball play that we see from a Michael Porter Jr., but he also does have some of that sturdiness that we see from a Jabari Smith, to where I think he's a better prospect than what people are leading on. Like, I've seen him lower on a lot of big boards, maybe like 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, like where I could find a way to mix him into that top 18, which is pretty hard, but I do think Kareem Lopez is a really good prospect for OKC. And at number 3, this is where we really start to get like into the players that I think OKC should draft. If they're there, draft them. No questions asked. Number 3, I have Brilan Mullins. Brilan Mullins is a guy, just like another guy who's going to be on this list, that has not played much this season. He missed a big chunk of games. He's played 11 games. He started 7 of them. I wish I could look at like the games as a starter. As a matter of fact, let's just look at the game logs and search up what he's been doing as a starter. Let's look from here to here. What has he been doing as a starter? Because we have that 17-point game that he had against Kansas where he was coming off the bench. He had that 10-point game where he had coming off the bench. As a starter, he's giving you 13 points per game. He's also shooting 44% from three on 6 attempts. He's barely shooting inside the arc shots. He has really good feel as a passer. He's the best off-ball player in this draft, in my opinion. And this is why I'm going to have him right around that 9 through 11 spot when draft time comes around, because I think he's that talented of an off-ball player, and he does have like some touch passing upside to where you don't have to run actions for him to have like a clear read. He can make plays within the chaos of the offense, especially playing next to a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is going to have the ball so much of the game, which is completely justified. I don't want to get into that conversation, but you have a guy who has the ball so much as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. One thing you need to know how to do around him is to relocate, is to be able to make those touch passes, is to know how to make passes out of chaos or how to make plays out of chaos, because that's what's going to happen in Oklahoma City. And I think Brilan Mullins is a really good player, especially if they want to go towards the shooting identity that they need to address this coming off season. Now they have a multitude of picks that they can make trades for to go get a guy that can be a consistent 3-point shooter instead of leaning on a prospect and having him develop. That's probably going to take a season or maybe two before he starts becoming a real impactful player for this team. But I think the upside is there for him. I think the upside is there for a Brilan Mullins. And at number 2, I have Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson, in my opinion, now you guys know I've had my ups and downs with Caleb Wilson. I think he's one of the better players in this draft, but I do think there is just a little bit of hesitancy I have coming from him just because there are a few things I see and I'm like, I'm not the biggest fan. Now, if you look at just the raw numbers, he's averaging 19 points per game, 11 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds per game. He's getting to the free throw line 8 times a game. He's fantastic. Like, he's a fantastic prospect. Okay, I may not be as high on Caleb Wilson as the field. I still have him as a top 5 prospect in this draft. I still have him as a top 5 prospect in this draft class. I'm just not as high on him as other people are. Like, I've seen some people say, I can find a way to put him in my top 3. Let's relax. Let's pump that brake. Let's pump that brake. I think he's a really good basketball player. As a matter of fact, why not just bring out some of the film? Why not just bring out some of the film on Jayden Quaintance? Shout out to my boy Kashigi. We're about to do this live because these are my YouTube videos now. We're not even going to press pause on the recording. We're just going to go right to the source material and look at some Caleb Wilson games. I do want to talk about real fast. One, if you just take a look at what we just saw in his speed and transition, I think is really good. Like, he's the type of guy to where OKC could draft him and he could be a much better player than I have like looked at, to the point where he is a really ugly offensive player, like in the half court. Like, I think we see here he just does not have the strength or like the ball handle to be able to control how fast this spin move was for him. Like, he's the level of athlete. Like, I'm not saying he's an Amen level athlete, but he has the issues that Amen had last year and sometimes this year, to where he's moving too fast for him to handle the ball. And that could be an issue. But playing with a team like OKC, where he's not going to really be handling the ball often, and he's just going to be that really athletic, really good rebounding play finisher, that could be something that could be viable as well. Like, if we take a look at these, dribbling through traffic, some of that offensive stuff in the half court, I'm not necessarily high on. What I'm higher on, and we can just get out of this because I really just wanted to show that. I haven't even watched this game yet, but those are a few things that I just wanted to talk about because I do think they're pretty like eye-opening when we're looking at Caleb Wilson's game. But what I'm most intrigued about, and what some like probably like for some people the sad truth is, when we talk about the draft, which I just talked in my mock draft that you guys saw yesterday, sometimes there are prospects that are better than said prospect but don't have nearly the tools that the other prospect has, and that will cause them to get drafted higher. And that's where I think Caleb Wilson is in a significant situation, because he is one of the best prospects in this draft, and he also has some of the best tools in this draft. So offensively, when you're running the floor like that, when you're rebounding to the level that he does, especially with the level of intensity and the level of effort that he gives on just getting on the glass, which is something that OKC could use. Him being a grab and go threat makes that even better because he's such a good transition player and he has all the defensive tools. Now, when I look at him on defense, I'm not as high on what he is as a defender right now, but you cannot ignore those tools and say he's not going to be a good defender because he's shown it multiple times. And at number one, the guy I believe OKC should draft, if he's on the board, it does not matter who else is on the board. Okay, it does kind of matter who else is. If the big three isn't on the board and this guy's on the board, you take him. No questions asked. We'll take him. We'll figure out the rest later. We'll cross those bridges when we get there. And that's Jayden Quaintance. Jayden Quaintance has all the defensive tools to be an all defensive caliber player 10 straight years. With his athleticism, with his leaping ability, with his verticality, with his timing on blocking shots and protecting the rim, he's exactly the type of player that fits this OKC structure, this OKC identity, and this OKC culture. He's exactly it. He's exactly it. When it comes to fighting on the glass, if we take a look at some of his stats, he's not like jumping off the screen. Like, he's not jumping off the screen. So people are probably going to say I'm crazy, but please just watch other trusted draft guys talk about Caleb Wilson. Ben Pfeiffer. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Ben Pfeiffer was talking about Jayden Quaintance last year when he wasn't available for the draft, and he knew he was coming out this year because, one, his basketball reference page is going to say sophomore. He's 18 years old. He was younger than Cooper Flagg as a freshman. He's fine. He's getting drafted this year. He's a freshman. He's a freshman's age. Let's take a look at his numbers real fast because his numbers aren't like eye-popping. This year, I think he's averaging like 5 points a night. This year, he has to be averaging like 5 points a game. And there's nothing wrong with that. If we just full screen this real fast, he's averaging 5 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 0.5 assists. He's played 4 games. He started one of them. If we take a look at the game logs, let's take a look at the game logs now. Let's just take a look. Let's just take a look. In the game that he started, he played 18 minutes. Only had 1 point, 4 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and a block, 2 turnovers. Yeah, the numbers don't look good. I want you guys to just forget the numbers for a second. Please just forget the numbers because they don't look great. His impact is so well beyond what the numbers show. This is a guy who could really thrive in what OKC is trying to do. And the best part about it is he doesn't have to start. Imagine in the future, OKC has a starting front court of J-Dub, Chet, and Isaiah Hartenstein. And then we move to the bench unit of a Jayden Quaintance, Thomas Sorber, and insert small forward here. That is ridiculous because you can put Chet and Quaintance together and have an all switch lineup, whether it's Shea with Caruso, Dub, Quaintance, and Chet, and we're just switching everything. Everything's getting switched. Every single thing is getting switched, and we are pressuring you, and you can't stop us. Not only can you not get past our defenders at the point of attack, you can't score at the rim. And I'm not the only one that's tripping. Because Jayden Quaintance is looked at as a top 5 prospect in the draft class. For those that don't know, go figure it out. Anyway, that will be it today, ladies and gentlemen, for my thoughts on who OKC should draft with their future first-round picks. If you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at @thebuzzersports_. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at ATBSports1, and make sure you guys follow me on TikTok at @thebuzzerENT. I kind of just messed that up. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.